tell me about your passion for film. It's what how did this happen? What, kickstarted your interest in this area?
Yeah, I mean, since I was a kid, I've just been obsessed with movies, like Lord of the
Yeah.
Rings, Pirates of the Caribbean. Like some of those ones, I would go outside and just pretend I was in them. And
Yeah.
when I started making music and music videos, I just was like, I would get so excited to do the video parts.
Mhm.
And then eventually, me and my close friend, he had a camera and he was really good at that stuff. So we just started making them on our own, and I would edit them,
Mhm.
and I just learned all about it. And it's just like, wow, it's such another layer to tell the story, and you get to say it like, you can have the song, but then the video can be something totally different.
Yes.
And editing too, like I've just really come to love
Mhm.
editing. But anyway, so yeah, after I moved to Toronto, like into the city, I started to do background work in like big shows like The Boys and
Oh,
Netflix
wow.
show, just like being on set, those huge sets. Like I was just in the background, but I was just, that experience was just like, there's nothing like this.
Wow.
And then I got a role in my first feature and did the score for the whole thing. I
Wow.
just kind of got introduced to it. And yeah, and just wrote my first screenplay and wrote another one. And it's just been always something I loved. And really started to learn. Well, not started, but I started a long time ago, just like learning how to do it.
Yeah.
And now that I'm in a position where I can and I've met the right people, it's just amazing because it's all come together. And yeah, dude, like being on set now is just like my favorite thing. Like we're in the middle of shooting our first feature, which is a horror anthology.
Wow.
And yeah, there's nothing like it, man. And editing and color and all that, just love it. And it's cool, but it's like I'm restarting, in a lot of ways. So it's almost
Yeah.
like the start of my music career. But I feel like that was just kind of training in a lot of ways for this. And
Mhm.
so yeah.
Amazing. Like, can you share more details, for example, about this horror movie or your screenplays? Maybe
Mhm.
give some summaries because I would love to hear, what sort of
Yeah,
stories you're into.
absolutely. Yeah. So the horror is it's an anthology of four different stories
Mhm.
that, it's the same cast playing different characters. And I kind of started writing them to write myself roles because acting
Mhm.
is something that I love and I've always, wanted to do more of.
Mhm.
And I've always been, just weirdly good at playing like characters, like doing voices and characters that are super far from where I am.
Wow.
So I kind of use the horror film as just a playground to write some of those kind of characters and write one that's more grounded because I am working on just being able to act just myself as well,
Yeah.
which is really hard. But then, the next screenplay I just finished writing is it's a comedy, drama. It's kind of like emos against rednecks type of thing, like kind of based on a lot
Nice.
of my experiences from when I was younger. But it's a very nice story about these three friends who are trying to save, one guy's grandmother's house from foreclosure, and they have to get in with the rednecks and all this stuff. So,
Nice.
and it's weird because I always thought horror would be my thing
Yeah.
because I always loved horror movies. But after writing it and we shot one of the stories, I'm about to shoot the rest. I just realized like I just care about the story, and the horror part is actually really tough to pull off.
Mhm.
So I just tried to write something that wasn't that, and I really loved it, and I feel like all of my team really loved it. We actually just did like a table read for it the other day,
Wow.
and yeah, so I'm excited. Like I learned so much, but it's kind of like film school for ourselves, just doing
Mhm.
it
Yeah.
and doing the horror where there's less pressure. It's just all these weird characters and stuff, so we can eventually do some more grounded stuff. So
Wow, that
yeah.
sounds amazing. I really, didn't know about this aspect of what you do. So it's so interesting to hear that because, I'm definitely a big film of aficionado as well. And even with the podcast, we had like screenwriters and write directors and whatnot, especially when it comes to horror movies. I'm a very big fan as well. So tell me more about what got you into horror. Like, do you have favorite movies or yeah, in general, I would love to hear more about your preferences in this area.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I love talking about this stuff.
Yeah,
So,
awesome.
I I've seen a lot of horror movies, but I've always been drawn to films like Hereditary and Relic, like
Oh, yes.
just films that it's like less going on, but the horror kind of lies in the silence and in just like the
Yes.
disturbing nature. And
Yes.
that's always really inspired me a lot. And the film like the newer version, like that
Hmm.
was filmed in where my dad lives.
Oh wow.
So just having like a connection to that and seeing the movie with some of my actors I love and just knowing all those places, like it was so cool. Um, but yeah, so like like horror films that are more just like you're kind of left with like a sense of dread, like whoa, like what did I just absorb,
Yeah.
which isn't always good, but that's so that's kind of how I approached Farlight, which is the
Hmm.
name of our film. It's
Hmm.
kind of turned into something a little different than that, but
Hmm.
that's how I kind of started. I just want to tell these weird stories, It's the slasher thing and all that. Like there's some good movies, but that just never really appealed to me as much.
Hmm.
But something where you could just tell the writer like was really just putting everything into it when he wrote it. Like
Hmm.
those are powerful to me. So
Yeah, psychological thrillers have, always been my go-to horror subgenre, I guess. So
yeah.
I perfectly understand what you mean. Unfortunately, as you mentioned, it seems that the modern cinema in this area is kind of pulling more of the visual shocking aspect rather than suspense and atmosphere and the terror in it, unfortunately. But yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. I
Yeah.
definitely agree with that. So about the project that you're working, like, uh, uh, do you have any details in terms of how are they going to be released, distributed? Like, do you have any details that you can share at that point, or you are still like on the working area with them?
Yeah, I mean we're still working on it. We don't have
Mhm.
any like distribution locked in or anything
Yeah.
like that, but we are going to release the trailer next month.
Oh wow.
Um and I've really been like trying to learn about distribution and all that stuff and asking some people in the industry just for advice.
Yeah.
But it kind of seems like we might just self-distribute this.
Yeah.
We're going to submit it to festivals and do all that stuff, but as far as I know, you can put your own films up on like Amazon and iTunes and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So at the very least, we'll be doing that and on YouTube and stuff like that. Because
Yeah.
really, we know this is just our first project. It's, we're not hoping to get bought by a studio or whatever.
Yeah.
We're just doing this to learn.
Yeah.
So at the very least, it'll be out there to watch somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah.
What do you have like a big movie idea that you're kind of saving for when you're in a position to fully develop and create it? Like, do you have like a concept about a big project that you would like to do at some point in the future?
It's funny. Like I actually don't really because anytime I've written anything, I've
Yeah.
written it in a way where like I know we could shoot this ourselves.
Okay.
So
Gotcha.
I've always, written it like, oh, I know where we could film this or pull this shot off.
Hmm.
But me and my friend, close friend, we have a, comedy web series that we did a bunch of episodes for called Dake and Tyke, where we just played these two, stoner buddies and just go on these crazy
Nice.
adventures. And we did write a film of that, which I feel like could be a bigger production thing. So if
Mhm.
I could ever just shoot something, by then I might have a different idea, but I would love to just do like a big comedy or something like, just a
Uh,
really fun and a big horror would be cool too, but I feel like I would do the comedy before that. So
yeah.
yeah, who knows? But
Like, uh, where people can watch the stuff that you've released already? Is it on YouTube? Is it on a certain platform?
yeah, it's on YouTube. That Dake and Tyke series is
Yeah.
on YouTube, and I'll be putting the trailer for Farlight on my YouTube channel.
Amazing. That's so cool. Again, I really didn't know about that, and so it's so interesting to explore your activity in this sphere as well.